So as always, we start off with our cardboard templates and stuff, because that's how we're gonna figure out what's gonna work for us and what's not. We try it out with the cardboard template. If it's not gonna work, we tweak it until we find a solution, and then with our finished product, then we can start building something. Because I made this cardboard template, and then I built the metal version right here. And so you see we've got that lip all the way around. That's going to be the lip that attaches to the body on the bottom of the floor of the Jeep. And then over here on this end here is going to weld to our frame piece in here somewhere. This is built for our piece to slide into here, and then that slides into there. And then however far, we're not going to have this go all the way in there. That's a lot of material, and we don't need that. But we need enough material to come into here, and then what we'll do is we'll drill our holes, and then this will bolt in there, and it'll be removable. This is that sill plate that just pops off of there. If we're going to reuse it, we're going to have to cut this off so that this will be flat. So you would just cut that off, and then you would be able to reuse that. Because as you can see, we'll have extended it out by that much by bending this metal up. Now, even after we've used our cardboard template to get a rough idea of what we're going to be doing here, I did leave extra material on the gusset itself, so that we still have some room to adjust this if we need to. So then again, this is going to be tacked in underneath here. We're going to tack that on the body metal here, and then underneath on here. What that might end up doing is this wasn't a 90-degree angle. It was kind of tapered downwards. So that may or may not affect our sill plate. As long as all this portion here is consistent, the sill plate should still fit back on there, no problem. And if it doesn't, well then you could just get another piece of metal and tack that in there and cover all this up. And so we're going to put a series of these along the side, and this is just kind of like framing a house, right? So we put these in here, and once we've done that, then we can get our metal that's going to go down and then come back out and then down again. One last thing to consider is if you follow along the bottom of the door, that is also not 90 degrees as well. So there's a bit of curvature there. We'll find that as we work along. And when we do that, that means that each one of these plates that we've made will be a different length from the back piece to the front face, where that rocker panel portion is going to be. So that's why I also cut this longer than it needs to be. So that was my original measurement from where I measured it, and then I put that extra material in there, so I have lots to play with. What we'll do is we'll find out where this needs to be, and we could do that again with the cardboard so that we don't wreck our finished piece. And once we're satisfied, we tack that in there. And all we're going to have to do is on this side here, we just measure how much we'll have to remove, and then that'll set this in or out to match our body here. Had to remove that fender, and in doing so we had to remove the lights here and take that fender off. And with our new bumper and stuff like that, we have some brackets in here with some bolts, and there was one bolt in here that we had to remove. That's where we had to remove these lights. And then we have our bolts along the top here to remove, and I do believe there was one possibly down there, but oh, maybe that was it there. There's one or two to remove. Those probably were rotted off, but I think that one there needed to be removed, and then you can take that fender out. So the purpose is to get some more room in here with what we're dealing with. And then also too, we got a bunch of rotten metal in here, because when you're driving, it's throwing all the mud up into this area, and that's why this area here has got all the rotten steel that needs to be repaired. So what I did was I have these jigs that I made, and then I got a long piece of square tube with the level. That's my starting point to take measurements off of and try and establish what we're going to do to repair this basically rocker portion of the Jeep here. In the rear, we removed some metal back in there, and we did the same thing here, and we found this rotten metal here. So this is actually on the floor, and that's on the frame. So there's 2 spots there. As we look up in here, I built these little tabs, and all that is a piece of 1-inch flat bar, and then I just drill a hole and bolt the nut on there, and then just tack the nut on, and then I cut that tab so it's 1 inch squared, and I use those and I just tack them on. Over here, it was getting a little difficult to get our ground because of the corrosion and the rust, but we were able to get that. Why not just the nut onto the metal? Well, because this stuff is it's rusted, it's corroded. If we just put the nut onto this metal, a couple tacks on there, you could either, if this is weak, you could deform that if you end up putting too much torque on it, tightening your bolt, or break it off. So this just gives a little more surface area. It kind of widens it out, so maybe you've got some better metal to work with here, because close to that hole where the screw was before might be all rusted and corroded and weak. So I just put those tabs in there, and there's 1, 2, 3. Those are for basically the electrical sleeve that holds the wiring in, and then the rest, these ones here, so it'll be that 1, 2, 3, and then 1 in the back, 4. Those ones are going to be for the bezel or the cowling or the paneling inside that goes along the bottom there. Interesting. This is all rotted away, and if we look inside, basically if there's nothing left to stop all the mud and slush and water and everything that gets kicked up, that just is gonna keep getting thrown up in here and held in here, and then your wiring comes along the side here. And so if you've got water in here, and it might end up compromising your wiring, could contribute to a lot of the electrical problems in these vehicles. Moving forward, we've cut out all the bad metal in there and also down in there, and what we're going to do is locally I can't find a weld-through primer around here, so the best thing I can do is use this high temp stuff. So what I've done is I've sprayed that high temp inside back in here, because once we weld these pieces on, you won't be able to get back in there. And also I give it a shot inside there and on the back side of our filler plate that is going to go in there. So here on the bench here is 2 pieces of metal. We got the thin stuff here, and then we got the thicker stuff here, and I just ran a bead on the other side, and then I just flipped it over to see. Now it does look like basically it bakes that right off of there. So fear not, a friend of mine told me that after there's some access holes in the bottom of the frame there for drainage, and you could go somewhere and they could put a wand in there and they could spray that up with some primer after the fact to protect the metal.